watch this easier on the playback. All right. So let's dive in. If you're ready to dive in, give me a little like thumbs up. All right, let's talk about resilience. My favorite quote about resilience is from Winston Churchill: if you're going through hell, keep going. And again, that was the thing that haunted me when people were like, Amelia, you're so amazing, everything you've been through. And I literally would be like, you just put one foot in front of the other. Like, whatever it is that we're all dealing with right now, we remember that if you're going through hell, at some point you're going to get to the other end of it. And again, as I was going through the things with my dad and I was just breathing and like, okay, I don't know which direction this is going to go. My brain wants to go, well, what happens if this disease kills him? And then my brain goes, what if this disease actually doesn't kill him, but now we have to deal with all of the potential side effects of what it was like to go 3-4 days with very little oxygen going to his brain, and what will, how will I get him care and all these other things. And I would watch my brain doing both of those things, and I would need to tell my brain to come back in the present moment, to deal with whatever was in front of me, because I literally would say, okay, I don't know which one, I don't know what direction that's going to go in, and it may be a third other direction as well, I don't know, but all I do know is this too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. That is the foundation of resilience. One of my favorite definitions of resilience is by the late Chris Peterson, who used to say that he defined resilience as struggling well, struggling well. So there's no question that in some way, shape, or form, everybody on the planet that is at least aware of what's going on is not struggling. Even if you are not quarantined, even if you, live in a part of the world that is like totally isolated and you're fine. If you care about human beings, you are going to struggle. But the question about resilience is, can we struggle well? We know that when adversity strikes, most people actually are resilient. One of the obstacles that we face is that when people only hear about post-traumatic stress disorder, you assume that when traumatic events happen, you sort of assume, well, I'm going to wind up traumatized by this. Well, I want you to know, friends, that's not the case. Research shows that yes, there's a small tail of people right around here that when a traumatic event happens, there will be some people who will wind up disordered as a result of the trauma. We also know that there's going to be a group of people that will not just bounce back to where they were before, but they're actually going to grow as a result of the trauma. That is the foundation to the Better Than Before program, a commitment that says, I'm not just going to be resilient, I'm actually going to grow through this. And then most people will eventually return to whatever their, I'm trying to find my keyboard, there I am, whatever their baseline level of resilience is, approximately 2 standard deviations above the mean and below the mean, most people are actually resilient. I'm just trying to figure out how to get this back. Okay, most people are actually resilient. This is important because if you only hear about trauma, you're going to expect trauma. I really want most people to know and expect resilience. And in the beginning of our Better Than Before program, I would ask people questions like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how well do you think you're doing right now? How well do you think you're doing right now? And the average was a 7 on a scale of 0 to 10. And I would think if I were to ask you, like, all things considered, how well do you feel like you're navigating the circumstances? Most people would probably say I'm doing well. This is the truth of the human condition, that most of us are resilient. And yet we also know that some are not. And so you've all probably been heartbroken or touched by the story of Dr. Lorna Breen. She was a New York City ER doctor who had contracted COVID. She stopped working, she quarantined herself, she got better, and then she died by suicide in the past week. And we know that this is also the truth of what we're facing, that while we can show up and take care of ourselves and get better and do things, there's an immense cognitive load that is being put on people. And if you do not have the skills to deal with it, it's going to impact you. And so this is an opportunity, I believe. I believe our whole planet is given an opportunity to learn how to care for their mind, how to care for their body, and how to care for their relationships and their emotions, and how to care for ourselves in a way that you could have gotten away with before. Before you could get away with putting your kids and your business and your work first and me second, and whatever, I got by somehow. Now we can't. We have to take care of our immune systems. If they're going to open up quarantines before we're ready, before we have testing, the best defense is going to be a good offense. We have to learn to take care of ourselves. I believe this terrible, terrible crisis is giving us an opportunity, and gives us an opportunity to have to face things that we otherwise wouldn't have been, to come together, to perform acts of kindness, to simplify. Some of the messages I'm hearing from our Better Than Before participants are people saying that they've learned that they actually have learned how much easier life is when it's simpler. How they don't need as many of the things that they did, right? That already they're saying, wow, my life is different, and I actually am not going to go back to the person I was before this all started. So we know that we have an opportunity. We know that we can bounce back better. We know that our body is actually wired to bounce back better. When you break a bone, nature has made you so incredibly, incredibly resilient that when you break a bone, not only does the bone heal, but it comes back stronger. The reason people are talking about a coronavirus vaccine is because the way that typically it works in our body is when you get sick, not only does your body fight back the disease, but it memorizes it and it learns how to fight back those diseases in the future. One of the reasons I'm very concerned about the possibility of being forced into a vaccine is that we know that there's already so many different mutations of this particular vaccine. I'm sorry, this particular virus, and we don't know if bodies are building up the immunity to it. I got exposed. I had coronavirus. I lost my sense of smell for 2 weeks, and sense of taste, and had really, really mild symptoms, because thank God I know how to take care of myself. I don't trust myself necessarily just yet to go hang out with somebody. I mean, I do if I need to take care of the person, but I don't know whether or not my body has fought back to this just yet. But we know under normal circumstances, not when it's pandemic times, your body has this incredible wisdom that it knows how to protect you. And I want you to keep this in mind, because when we start to go into the neuroscience of trauma, you are going to see that the brain and what it does for us during times of stress, and how it processes trauma, is actually there for protection. And it's a very healthy response. It's actually an incredibly useful response, and has been for thousands of years as our brain developed during life-threatening circumstances where we lived in the wild. There were wild animals and creatures that could hurt us at any time. That if you got cut and you got a bacterial infection, you were likely to die. So our body has wired us with this incredible pathway to being resilient. But if we don't understand how those pathways work, and we understand that our environment is so different, what happens is our body is staying chronically stressed. Our body is staying chronically reactive to threats that are not present, and they're going to eat away at our well-being. So I call it our system the Bounce Back Better system, because we don't need to learn how to bounce back. What got us here, that nature has enabled us to be resilient. 99.99% of all living species that have ever walked this earth are actually extinct today. So you and I, we're part of the 0.001% that actually survived. However, the kind of resilience that got our ancestors here is not the resilience that we're going to need to rebuild post-COVID. And it's not the kind of resilience that enables us to flourish. And again, if you're interested in our Bounce Back Better program, I've taken resilience and mapped it into a system, what I call the 16 basic building blocks of bouncing back better. And we separate resilience into mental, emotional, physical, and social skills. And right now, the Better Than Before program, it's a program that is, again, I'm running every day. It's a $30 subscription for the 30 days. And we're also offering free scholarships for anybody that can't afford $30 right now, knowing that for many people, times are so incredibly pressed right now, where I'm integrating learning these resilience skills into the daily support that we are doing with these support groups and in teaching positive psychology. So I'm not going to talk to you guys too much about resilience, because I really want to get into the neuroscience of trauma, but I want you to know that there is a science to these skills, and these skills work. And the blue represents mental, the green is emotional, the red is physical, and the S is social and spiritual skills. And that there's actually a systematic way that we can learn how to bounce back better, not just be you, but be better than before. Okay, so let's talk. Let me stop the recording and start again. Sorry, friends, it'll be a little